Just Baseball Show is presented by BetMGM. Use code JustBaseball for a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on any MLB game and start betting with the king of sportsbooks, baby. Jack and Peter on Tuesday, June 13th. We're going to talk All-Star Ballot. We're going to mention the Oakland A's. We're not going to really talk about them.
We are going to talk about the Oakland A's for 30 straight minutes because they deserve it.
I don't want to. We're going to mention the Oakland A's. We're also going to talk some injuries. You were not hurt in your softball game. You put up some numbers I saw on the Tiki-Taki.
Thank you for finally bringing it up because it is big news. Yes. Yeah. We're only allowed 2 home runs per game in our softball game. Slow pitch softball athletes, they know the drill. You know, you can't go through so many balls. The fences are normally short. It is slow pitch softball, so it's a little bit easier to hit home runs, so they have to deter it in some way. But there was a right field fence. It's a little bit hard for a lot of right-handed bats to go opposite way.
Yeah, not you.
Peter-esque, Stanton-esque, not me. Absolute piss missile over the right field fence. And it's another home run. It's another step in the direction of an incredible softball season led by me. It's incredible.
So do you ever think maybe you tout yourself up as an athlete a little too much, or do you feel like you don't do it enough?
Yeah. What do you mean? Of course I don't.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. I only mention it every week. What do you mean I'm doing it too much?
No, I don't think too much. I think, like it's always about your successes. I need to hear about the failures because baseball is a game of failure. But in slow pitch softball, if you're not failing, then we have nothing to talk about.
And I totally agree with you. I would bring you failures if I had them.
Yeah.
It's like
single?
if I go.
How about the single that I saw before the homer? Real quick, cutting you off. Is that
driving in a run? Team guy, glue guy. Are you kidding me? That was almost more impactful than the home run.
All right. Okay, I get it. Are you an all-star? Would you make the cut in the first fan vote?
I mean, it depends what country is voting because the Toronto Blue Jays dominate the ballot, and I am not Canadian. So that's the issue.
Which is kind of crazy, and I get it. And this is the problem with the fan vote. We see it in the NBA. We see it in Major League Baseball sometimes too.
I've shit on Chris Bassett too much for Toronto Blue Jays fans to trust me. So I don't think I'd get a single one of their votes.
Yeah, I understand. We're going to walk through the first MLB All-Star ballot because the first voting returns came out. Leading vote getter that I see in the American League here at 924,000 votes through the first cycle is Shohei Ohtani. Are you stunned? Number 2 is Aaron Judge.
Did you know Ohtani's fast?
I did know Ohtani's fast. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Again, you tell me that every week.
Yes.
But the leading vote getter, the only guy with over 1 million votes tallied so far is Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves. So I'm going to walk through this. I've also got the ballot up here. I've got my ballot. And here's how I would vote at this point compared to the American League and the National League. Let's run through the AL real quick because the catcher in the American League is Adley Rutschman. I agree. Sal Perez technically has a higher OPS, but Adley, I mean, we know his value transcends offensive numbers. So it makes sense.
I might vote for Jonah Heim at this current juncture.
So yeah, Heim is probably second.
Adley's a little flashier.
Yeah, Adley is, and Adley's got the name recognition. Jonah Heim doesn't really. He's one of those breakout guys.
Yes, both switch hitters.
Yeah.
Jonah Heim is almost as good at defense. And no, Adley's been so damn good. It's hard to take him off the mantle, but I want to shout out Jonah Heim because he has been excellent for the Texas Rangers.
Yeah. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the leading vote getter at first base in the American League. I disagree with that. I think it's Yandy Diaz. I don't think it's close. I agree. Vladdy has the sex appeal with his name.
I guess because Yandy's played a lot of third. He has played first a ton too, so he should be qualified as a first baseman, but I totally agree, should be Yandy Diaz. And not even a debate, really.
Right. The lone ranger here is Marcus Semien at second base. Yeah. I think Semien is so far and away the leader in the clubhouse here. I don't think there's anybody close. If Altuve was healthy the whole year, maybe, but it's Semien.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely Marcus Semien.
So Chapman is the third baseman, and I don't hate it. I think that Chapman is probably more deserving than a guy like Isaac Paredes. Jose Ramirez has been good, not great. My all-star third baseman in the American League at this juncture is Josh Young with the Texas Rangers.
I don't hate that one bit. That's What about Josh Donaldson hitting
No,
150?
no.
Played like 8 games. No, not Josh Donaldson.
It's been a down year at third base all
It
around.
has. Yeah.
J-Ram is an 840 OPS. We expect him to be around 900. He hasn't been that. Young, the fact that Young has almost an identical OPS, better power numbers, he's hitting for a higher average, and he's on the best offense in baseball. I lean Young.
I think that Young is a great one. I don't think, though, that you can go wrong between J-Ram, Chapman, and Young. But I like giving the Rangers their shine because they fucking deserve it. So give me Josh Young. Why not us?
Yeah. So toss up at shortstop here between the guy that is the leading vote getter right now and the guy that I think should start. Leading vote getter is Bo Bichette of the Blue Jays. I love that choice. I would absolutely make that choice if Corey Seager wasn't tearing the cover off the ball right now.
Also, Wander Franco. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong there between the three of them. The only thing that could dock Seager slightly is the health. He hasn't been as healthy as Wander and Bo Bichette, so I would lean Bichette and Wander over him a little bit. But if we're talking about in the games that they played, I think Corey Seager has been the best shortstop in the American League. But due to that, I'm going to give it to the guys who have been healthy. So I would have to go back, but the decision would be between Bichette and Wander.
And those three, I could argue, have been the three best shortstops in baseball because the National League shortstop situation is no bueno, and we'll get to that here in a moment. Outfield trio in the American League right now is Judge, Alvarez, and Trout. Judge, yes. Alvarez, yes.
Yes.
Mike Trout, edgy, but no this year. Like, it's Mike Trout. He's going to start the All-Star game. We know that. So I'm not going to sit here and argue with it, but you know, he is about 300,000 votes behind Aaron Judge, understandably so. If this were a true like meritocracy all-star vote, I think Randy Arozarena is the third starter. And honestly, with how infectious that guy is and how world-renowned he is now, I was shocked to not find Randy Arozarena on this list.
I would arguably put Randy over Jordan.
It's tough. Jordan has 17 pumps compared to Randy's 12. Jordan has 55 ribbies compared to Randy's 44. And Jordan is OPSing almost 100 points higher.
You're giving Jordan kind of the credit that that's what he's built on, right? He's built on home runs, RBIs, and OPS due to the slugging, but look at stolen bases, right? Look at some other stats that Randy is a little bit better in. I'm sure the WRC plus is a pretty damn close too.
At full health, who do you want? I'll pull up the WRC plus.
Well, at full health, Jordan Alvarez is the best hitter in baseball outside of Aaron Judge. So yeah, if who's better, Jordan's better. But in terms of production this season, I would take Randy because he's also the better defender too, which does matter.
So remember these numbers. Jordan has a 168 WRC plus and 2.3 WAR.
It's pretty high.
168. Yeah, that's really high. What did I say? 168.
168 and 2.3.
Okay, 158, 2.4 for Arozarena. So very comparable.
That's what, it's close. It's close. And that's why I said it's arguable. But again, no debate that those should be the three. Absolutely. And Jordan, we're going to talk about Jordan's health thing, which will affect the voting moving forward. That's probably why my brain was like, well, Randy's healthy right now, and he's going to continue until the All-Star break.
Right. So I do think Randy probably edges out one of these guys. I think Arozarena should start in the All-Star game.
He also should be getting so many votes. Anyone who watched the World Baseball Classic, get that man as a starter. We need his energy.
Right. Like, you see him at the top of the leaderboards. How are you not voting for Arozarena?
The only thing that's tough, has there ever been a better all-star than Mike Trout? I mean, how many Chevy cars has he won?
Yeah, give me the facts.
He's always 2 for 2 with a triple and a home run in the All-Star game. So it's like, if he starts, I'll be very happy.
Dude should have a garage just dedicated to the fucking Chevys that he gets from the All-Star games.
It's insane. He's got every version.
Nuts. Shohei is the clear-cut answer. He's the leading vote getter in the American League. Don't need to dive any farther.
Fast.
Give Jake Berger. Yeah, he's fast. Give Jake Berger his flowers. Give Brent Rooker his flowers. They're not sniffing Shohei Ohtani.
Do we even have to give Jake Berger his flowers?
Yes.
Okay.
Jake Berger has been the lone bright spot.
Okay.
The lone bright spot.
Flowers. There, I did it.
Thank you.
Jake Berger
And they don't need to be nice ones. They can be grocery store bouquet. Like, just
Whatever.
give them a flower. That's
Whatever.
it. Okay.
Here's a
Nationally.
dandelion.
What?
Here's a dandelion.
That's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
just pick one for do whatever. The one that what do you blow off and everything goes away?
Is that a dandelion? Or they grow into one of those puffers? I don't know what it's called either.
Yeah, give him like picked weeds if you want. National League, Sean Murphy is the leading vote getter behind the plate. Yes, Sean Murphy is the best catcher. Will Smith deserves some love.
Yeah, let's not forget about that bad man in Los Angeles who was hitting rockets.
Yes, but Murphy has been better.
Agreed. I would take Murphy because Murphy has been almost as good offensively, arguably in the same ballpark, and he's just such an incredible defender. Absolute rocket from behind the plate. He should be the starting catcher for the All-Star game, but again, we cannot sleep on Smith.
No, he's the first reserve, Will Smith.
And I would take Will Smith over any American League catcher. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. First base in the National League, Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers is the leading vote getter. You can be swayed by Alonso's 22 pumps, but you shouldn't be because Freddie is hitting 338.
Freddie.
He's got a 999 OPS. It's Freddie. Guy's a freak show. Second base is Luis Ariz. There is no other answer.
Brian Kenny said he doesn't really care about 397. He did drop below 400. So do we care anymore?
But I do. I
do.
care.
I care a lot.
I care about 397.
It's so cool. I don't get like we always say like a 20-game winner. I will always be a sucker for a 20-game winner. I'll always be a sucker for a guy in the batting average title. Like it's sick. It brings you back to your roots of baseball.
No, dude, like the wins leaders and the batting title winners, it's cool. Like
I think it's cool.
Still cool. Don't have anybody tell you otherwise.
Analytics has pushed us in such a direction that it's like you're not even allowed to appreciate it. I'm appreciating it.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. We are not apologizing for appreciating good, honest baseball.
Sorry. Nolan Gorman does have 15 times the homers that Luis Ariz does.
I don't care.
But he's
397.
Yeah, 397 compared to 257. Give me that. All right. Leading vote getter at third base, Nolan Arenado of the Cardinals. This is really tough. Third base in the National League has not been good. JD Davis is probably the other answer here, but like Max Muncy hasn't been good. Austin Riley has been pretty bad. Ke'Bryan Hayes is only heating up now. Manny Machado's been putrid. There's not many good options here. When you combine star power and what production he's offered, Nolan is the answer.
Yeah, probably Nolan. Just trying to rack my brain. Yeah, it's got to be Nolan because it's Nolan.
Yeah. Who do you think is the leading vote getter among National League shortstops?
Ellie De La Cruz.
Nope.
No, I haven't seen yet. I wanted to go into this blind so you could surprise me. Ellie De La Cruz.
Nope.
That's who I'd vote for.
So it's Orlando Arcia.
Atlanta, stop flooding the vote. Stop flooding the ballots, please. It's Atlanta and it's Toronto over and over and over again.
But let me tell you who my vote is, and you may understand why it's Arcia.
Okay.
My vote's Geraldo Perdomo. It's been a terrible position. Like your three leaders in the clubhouse right now, Matt McLain, Geraldo Perdomo, Orlando Arcia.
McLean's been up for like 2 weeks. Is Dansby not up there?
If you sort this list by OPS, McLean's got a 905.
Sort it by WAR, though. I want it to be sorted by WAR because shortstop defense is so impactful.
MLB.com does not give me that capability, but just take WAR into account. Okay. McLean, 905. Perdomo, 868. Arcia, 855. Nobody else above 800. Then you go to Rodolfo Castro, Dansby Swanson, who's at a 741. Xander Bogaerts at a 740. Paul DeYoung, Chris Taylor, Francisco Lindor, Ezekiel Tovar, Trey Turner with his 686, Adames with his 675. It's been terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Dansby does have a 2.3 WAR. So the OPS hasn't been there, but he's still walking a ton, and he's got a 346 OBP. He's a slightly above average hitter right now, but the defense has been so good for him. And then you have Tyro. Sorry?
What's Perdomo's?
Perdomo's F WAR is he's not even on this list. Is he even qualified? I don't know if he's qualified, my guy. Like I can't vote a guy who's not qualified.
So you can't vote for McLean then?
Yeah, I can't vote for those guys.
Perdomo,
For me, it would be Dansby. I mean, Dansby has been arguably the best shortstop defensively in Major League Baseball. It's just all of his other numbers are so friggin' lame. But like,
exactly. So Perdomo is a 140 WRC plus right now, and
what about Thairo Estrada? What about
Estrada? Estrada is not eligible. Estrada's over at third base, I think.
I'd go Dansby.
Okay, I go Perdomo, which
Such
is
a boring answer.
It's vomit inducing.
Yeah, it is. But shout out Geraldo Perdomo for having a great year so far.
Shout out Geraldo Perdomo. We're gonna do like weirdest all stars. I think Perdomo might be weirdest all star.
I'll still never get over how Brock Holt made that all-star game. He did not deserve it.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like, who's this year's Joe Mantiply? It might be Perdomo, might be Brent Suter in Colorado.
Yeah, it should be Brent Suter, but he deserves it.
Yeah. And Mantiply deserved it last year.
He's outsmarting guys.
But you do the walkthrough on Fox in the pregame where you go through the reserves, and there's one guy that makes
just
a diehard baseball fan say, who the fuck is that? Yeah, exactly. And I think that might be Suter this year. Yeah. 3 outfielders in the National League. Acuna is the leading vote getter in all of baseball. Then you got Mookie Betts and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I can appreciate that. There is a glaring omission. He is the war leader in all of baseball, and he's Lourdes Gurriel Jr.'s teammate. How is Corbin Carroll not on this list?
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. Corbin Carroll is also going off right now. We're talking about Ronald Acuna Jr. and the fact that he's got 13 bombs and 28 stolen bases, and he is no doubt deserving of the most votes. Corbin Carroll has the same WRC plus at 159. He has the same F4 at 3.2. He also has 13 home runs and he has 19 stolen bases. They're both getting on base near a 400 clip. Corbin Carroll actually has a higher slugging percentage and he's walking more. There is no debate. Corbin Carroll has been almost as good as Ronald Acuna Jr. And by WRC plus and F4, he's been the exact same player. No doubt Corbin Carroll should be starting in the All-Star game. People have been asking me like, what about Elly De La Cruz for Rookie of the Year? I'm like, he's so exciting. You see me just gushing over him day over day, but he ain't Carroll. He is not Corbin Carroll. Remember when we got roasted at the beginning of the year? Who's going to have a higher F4, Brandon Nimmo or Corbin Carroll? We all said Carroll. Yeah. We got destroyed.
Yeah. Look at him now.
Look at him now.
His floor is so dumb high.
I'm so obsessed with him. He's perfect. I mean,
he's pretty close to perfect.
I said on a show that I think he's going to be not only win 1 MVP, I think he's going to win 2 in his career.
Yeesh.
Yeah, I love him that much. I mean, this is a 30-30 guy, I think.
This year?
I mean, 13 home runs through 62. He's going to be easy 30 stolen bases, might be 40.
Give me down.
I mean, he could be 25 to 30 home runs, 40 stolen bases every year while hitting close to 300. I mean, and playing amazing defense.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. That's so good. That's incredible.
His year-to-year production is like if you elevate Bobby Witt Jr. by a step. Like what you think Bobby Witt is going to do, like Carroll's just going to do a little bit more than that.
But like even in Bobby Witt's best year, he ain't like, I don't know if he has the bat to ball to hit 300 like Carroll can.
No.
And walk like Carroll can. He's got great plate discipline.
He's never going to walk like Carroll can.
There's no holes.
Yeah. Last one, DH. JD Martinez, the Dodgers, is the leading vote getter. I think Martinez is the right vote. Jorge Soler is here as well. Soler's been freaking awesome.
Tied with Aaron Judge for 19 home runs, second to Pete Alonso's 22.
Yeah, so I think just for the sake of like having fun with it, I go Soler, but JD Martinez might be a teensy bit more deserving.
Shout out Chaim Bloom. Give me JD Martinez as my National League DH.
Yep. JD Martinez, Nathan Eovaldi, Michael Wacha, and then they've got Corey Kluber in long relief.
Ooh.
Nice.
That's not ideal.
Nice.
Hey, Brian Bayo pitched great.
He did. He pitched well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the Oakland A's because I don't want to add much here. This is one of those where I'm like, well, it's gonna end, and then it didn't.
The Oakland Athletics have won 5 straight games. Let me bring you back to the Moneyball era where they went on a 20-game win streak.
Nope.
Is it going to happen? Probably. No, I mean, the A's, they took down a Brewers team, which I thought was very, very impressive. They swept them, and in the month of June so far, they have the number 3 offense in Major League Baseball with a 130 WRC plus. They've gotten good production from the bullpen. They've gotten good production from a couple of starters, most notably JP Sears, who is actually a decent starter on their team. Paul Blackburn is back. Remember that former All-Star last year? We're talking about All-Stars. Paul Blackburn, the All-Star. Let's treat him with some respect. Did he end the year with an ERA around 5? Yes. Doesn't matter? No, because he was an All-Star. That's always going to be on his mantle. So they got him. They got JP Sears, and they got an offense with Ryan Noda, who should be near the top of the Rookie of the Year voting. They have Asturo Ruiz, who's one of the weirdest players in Major League Baseball, is 100th percentile sprint speed, but for some reason is one of the worst defensive center fielders, actually the worst defender in Major League Baseball by defensive runs saved. Doesn't really make any sense, but he's still getting on base, and he's stealing bags at 40% clip. So every time he gets on first base, he steals 40% of the time. That's by far the most in Major League Baseball. Brent Rooker is just not slowing down. I mean, he's still got that swing and miss, but he ain't slowing down. Seth Brown is kicking him back up again. They got some players. They are not a joke. And the Royals, hey, they're right there with the A's. So if we're going to crash on the A's, make sure to do it with the Royals because they're only a couple wins away from each other. Shout out Oakland. We're here. It's A's country. They ain't leaving Oakland until 2027.
So
buy stock now.
It's so much more fun for me to hop on the Rockies bandwagon because when the Rockies, like, it's family fun at the ballpark every game. Oakland, there's nothing fun about their situation until they win 5 in a row, and you know that they're a ticking time bomb. They're going to lose 10
When's
in a
the
row.
last time the Rockies won 5 in a row?
I don't know. I don't care because there's enough around the Rockies aura that I can appreciate. Are you willing to plant your flag in the Oakland A's satirical bandwagon?
Yes.
I chose a way better team to plant my satirical
No, you
bandwagon
didn't
flag.
because they'll never be anything. The A's, at least everyone expects them to be the worst. People only expect the Rockies to be like the 5th worst, and they're like the worst. The A's are like the 3rd worst, and everyone thinks they're way worse than they are. I'm actually buying low. Props to me again. Go Oakland. Remember when I said they're a slightly above average offense against righties in this specific time period? It's all clicking. I'm riding the A's till the brink of dawn. It's a good team, sort of.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that. And I guess I'm just going to hold the A's over your head now.
Fair enough.
You've created an avenue for me to pounce, and I'm going to pounce on you.
I mean, they're just going to keep winning ball games. But what I hope is that you'll shower me with praise when the A's finish with like 64 wins.
Yeah. Did you take an over win total?
No.
Are you going to jump on it right now?
No.
Okay, we got to the bottom of it in about 2 minutes.
But mentally, I'm in.
No, for the bit, you're in.
I'm in.
Yeah.
It's not a bit. Look how serious I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm serious about my Rockies fandom, Peter. Okay.
Did you put money on the Rockies over win total?
You know, staying in the AL West. Yordan Alvarez, unfortunately, an oblique issue, saw Dana Brown yesterday. Hop on Astros pregame. This is from Chandler Rome. He said the timeline for Yordan's return is, quote, still a bit up in the air. It's going to take at least a week to get a feel for how long it's going to be, which is a brutal thing to hear for Astros fans. Sounds like Yordan might be out a good bit. Oblique issues are so tough. With a big, strong man like Yordan Alvarez, they're even tougher. I'm not going to doomsday it, but it doesn't sound like pre-All-Star break might be in the cards.
Yeah. Yordan Alvarez injury is very interesting for me specifically because I have nice Peter sitting on my shoulder, the angel Peter. And then I have the devil Peter sitting on my left shoulder. The angel Peter is saying, you love watching Yordan Alvarez play baseball, right? He's one of the greatest hitters you've ever seen with your own 2 eyes. There's no game plan around him. He is better for the sport of baseball. Wishing him the fullest, strongest recovery and back to being Yordan Alvarez. But it's going to be tough with that oblique issue. The devil on the left side of my shoulder says, hey, Peter, you took his under 37.5 home runs in a Prize Picks entry, and you could net a lot of money if he ends up not hitting 38 home runs or above. You should be loving this injury. You should be relishing in this injury. I'm siding with the Angel because we don't root for injuries, and I'm wishing him a speedy recovery. But again, I hope he takes his time, right? Don't rush back. There's no need to rush back from this. Get back healthy and keep doing your thing, but take your time. I'm also saying the same for Kershaw. Could be due for a vacation anytime soon, right? He's done such a great job this season. He's due for like a month break. Doesn't even have to be an injury.
You're such a gremlin.
Take some time off. Enjoy. It's so sunny out, Clayton Kershaw. I could get you a cruise. Like, you want to go on a cruise with me? We'll just take some time off. Relax.
You're such a gremlin.
I'm rooting for all these guys to have amazing seasons.
No, you're rooting for
Yordan under their
Yordan.
totals.
You're rooting for Yordan to
If
get
they
right
happen to go
overall.
under their totals, it's just the way it is. But I'm rooting for them with all of my heart.
Yordan Alvarez is, I mean, I've gushed about him episode after episode after episode. This guy is, when he's on the field, as menacing a hitter as we've got in baseball. This dude had 37 and 97 ribbies last year.
37 home runs, you said?
37 home runs, 97 ribbies, had an OPS over 1,000 and still hit 306 with a K rate under 20%. He's perfect. He's huge. He's menacing. He's everything you want in a 3-hitter or a cleanup hitter. That's the guy that I love watching. And
he's our David Ortiz. He's our Big Poppy.
Yes.
That sounded kind of weird. He's our Big Poppy. No, he is.
He's your daddy.
He's my daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man. I mean, it sucks to see him out. Mm-hmm. It sucks that Houston needs to replace him for, it sounds like, the better part of a month, if not more. But like, I've got confidence in Dusty Baker. I've got confidence in Dana Brown. I've got confidence in the players there to keep them afloat. Problem is, I think the AL West is really good.
Oh yeah.
And I wonder if there's a chance to strike at a vulnerable Astros roster for the Angels, for the Mariners. We know the Rangers don't look like they're slowing down at any point. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Like, and the thing is, the Astros are looking up at them right now. So my question is, okay, you've got the most menacing bat in baseball. You've got the most terrifying bat in baseball, for my opinion. We've talked about that. We've talked about Judge. We've talked about Trout, all that stuff. But for me, he's the most feared hitter in baseball. You are missing that bat in your lineup. And we're going to get to another arm that, they've kind of adjusted to life, without him. But is this a vulnerable Astros team that can be bunny hopped by the Angels and the Mariners in the next month?
I think it's possible, but at the same time, it's not like the Angels and the Mariners are playing great baseball either. And what the Astros have is a luxury of depth. Corey Julks has been great. Mauricio Dubon in Jose Altuve's absence has been fantastic. So they can just be regulars in the lineup. Getting Chas McCormick back in the outfield is definitely huge for them. And of course, having Altuve back in the lineup is big for them. They're going to get Michael Brantley sooner than later. So I still look at this Astros team, and they're so deep in the bullpen too, and they've gotten some good contributions from starters. I still think even without Yordan Alvarez, it's going to be tough for the Angels and the Mariners, because it's not like those two teams are on these crazy hot streaks right now going full-fledged at the Astros. It's not the case. If they were playing much better baseball, I'd be a little bit worried for the Astros. But the thing is, the Astros don't seem to have truly felt the Yordan Alvarez absence because of their plentiful wealth that they have in terms of depth pieces. Yeah. And those depth pieces have been so good. So while it hurts, while you're right, you can make the argument between Yordan and Judge, but like, we're not here to do that. Like, he is one of the most feared, if not the feared hitter in Major League Baseball. It hurts, but a team like the Astros can stomach that loss for a month and be totally fine, I think.
Yes. Another loss that they have stomached for a long time is Lance McCullers, who made 8 starts last year, not counting his rehab assignment. Was shut down in 21 with a forearm issue, was dealing with that for the pretty much the entirety of 22, and has missed the front couple of months of 23 with a forearm thing. And apparently he experienced a setback, according to their GM, Dana Brown. So he underwent an MRI a couple days ago. I think this happened on Friday. McCullers is, I mean, at the point where like they just have to plan for him not throwing for Houston, which sucks because you've got Luis Garcia go down. We talk about their depth all the time, but you lose Verlander to free agency. You lose Garcia to injury. You're down to Valdez, Javier, Hunter Brown, and right now they're running out Bilac and JP France. McCullers is way better than that. Unfortunately, he's just been incredibly unavailable.
Yeah, I mean they need to do some moving around here because they keep putting out Bilac in France and they give you a chance to win, but
because the offense is good. They're not going to give you a chance to win a 1-0 game.
Exactly. That's the point, is that if the offense doesn't show up, you're losing that game. And you can make the argument that if the offense doesn't show up, they're losing most games. But if Lance McCullers is in there, they win more of those games than they do with Bilac in France, which is a very obvious take, but it's the reality of the situation for the Houston Astros. So I think they will be very active at the deadline, right? You know, they have a lot of good pieces that they're able to trade off in order to get an arm. Like Michael Lorenzen would be a perfect arm for them to go get.
Yeah.
Right? He's been very solid for the Detroit Tigers. I mean, they could grab a bunch of other pieces. The great thing about the Astros is that they don't need an ace, right? You have Framber, who is just unfreaking believable. You have Javier, who's still very good, and Hunter Brown, who's still very good. So you just need an arm to be better than Bilac or France. There's plenty of those out there. And I think they'll be fine. Again, it's hard for me to doubt the Astros really at any point. Does it suck that McCullers is most likely going to be out until probably closer to the postseason? Yeah, it does suck because I want to see him pitch.
That's the thing. I don't want to place an ETA on Lance.
I don't either. I put it way farther than maybe they're even estimating because at this point, like, what am I supposed to expect?
We don't know. But we haven't seen any of Lance McCullers. We saw him start in September. We saw him start, I think, back end of August is when he came back last year. And then he made one start in October, but that was it.
And I think he left a little bit of a sour note for some people, you know, kind of getting crushed there by the Phillies in the World Series. But he's much better than that. Like, he is a very good pitcher in the regular season.
He signed an $85 million deal.
That wasn't an accident. The Astros don't just do that.
Right. And, okay.
On Singleton.
Yes, but that's not McCullers, man. Like, McCullers proved that he was an $85 million player. And yes, he's a Boris guy, whatever. That number might be a little bit heightened. But McCullers was good enough to sign an $85 million deal before he hit free agency in earnest. So,
and it wasn't Rocktober giving it to him, as the Astros.
Yes. Rocktober's going to be a thing. I hope you know that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Garcia down with TJ. McCullers dealing with his thing. Jose Urquidy's got shoulder discomfort. He's been out since April 30. So, I mean, they're scraping. I think Lorenzen is a buy low candidate. I think if they do buy starting pitching, it's somebody like Lorenzen.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you need to give up much. And to be honest, they don't have much in the system.
They have enough to make moves for an arm like that.
But they're not going to give up Drew Gilbert. They're not going to give up any of these blue chippers. But that's what they have. They're depth.
Yeah, they're not going for Shane Bieber.
They're not going for Bieber. They don't need Bieber. They need a 4 or a 5.
Lorenzen. Perfect.
Michael Lorenzen. Perfect. Pete Alonso looks like he's going to be out a month for the Mets. And this news came in on Friday. So, you know, we were not recording at that point. The Mets' worries should be heightened. And the fact that we needed a statement from Steve Cohen saying that they're not going to blow it up and fire Buck Showalter and Billy Epler is nerve-wracking when you're paying more in tax penalties than some teams are paying in payroll. Without your best run producer in the lineup, and when you have to rely on Francisco Lindor, who's OPSing 700, when you have to rely on, you know, these other guys that have been wholeheartedly unreliable so far this year, this could be the month that things entirely slip away from the New York Mets. I know how frustrating this start has been for the Mets. It may get more frustrating for their fan base.
The Mets are 31-35. They are 6 games back of the second place Miami Marlins. And to just add a little bit of context to your point about taxes, the Mets pay about $111 million in taxes. The Marlins have a $95 million payroll.
Yep.
The Mets deserve all of the criticism that they get because they have the highest payroll, not only in MLB history, in sports history. At least I don't know much about soccer. Maybe some team gave Messi $1 trillion and like that's bigger. But we're talking about NFL, NBA, hockey,
right,
and Major League Baseball. They have the highest among all sports in the history of America. So the fact that they're 31-35 is a complete embarrassment. They're, you're talking to Mets fans. It's funny. I was at a family reunion, and a lot of my family members are Mets fans, as well as our producer on our Not Gambling Advice Twitch stream, Will Cohen, who is the brains behind a lot of the editing that's done here at Just Baseball. They all say the same thing. We're relying on the kids. We're relying on the Brett Beattys and the Francisco Alvarez's and the Mark Vientoses to overcome the struggles of some of the highest paid players in Major League Baseball. This is an embarrassment of a team so far.
And Aram and I had this conversation about the Cincinnati Reds yesterday. When you rely on kids, you can be good, you can be fun. You're not going to be a World Series contender, I don't think.
No, absolutely not. And
the Mets paid for a World Series contender, if we're being honest. You said what, $111 million in penalties?
Yep.
That would be 22nd in baseball in terms of payroll out of 32 teams. So they pay more
penalties.
Yeah, they pay more in penalties than these teams pay in payroll. The Miami Marlins, the Kansas City Royals, the Washington Nationals, Cincinnati Reds, Cleveland Guardians, Tampa Bay Rays, Pittsburgh Pirates, Baltimore Orioles, and Oakland A's.
A lot of those teams have been better than the Mets this season.
Some of them.
Rays, Orioles.
There is a somewhat
Marlins,
direct correlation between
Guardians.
Yeah. Guardians, does Cleveland have a better record than the Mets?
31-34 to the Mets at 31-35.
Okay, so half a game better.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. There is a somewhat direct correlation between spending money and winning, but it's not exact. And there were a lot of people that said, hey, what Steve Cohen is doing is bad for baseball. I don't agree. I think that owners being fans is good for baseball. But if you do think that what Steve Cohen is doing is bad for baseball, where he's just throwing money at a team and creating this massive gap between the Mets and everybody else payroll-wise, them struggling is good for baseball. Because
I don't think the conversation should be about Steve Cohen at all. I think it should be about Billy Epler. I mean, no wonder Mets fans are calling for his head right now. We see how free agency has worked in Texas. They've signed all these big deals. Look how good they've been. You know, the Yankees have proven that model of signing a bunch of free agents and winning has worked. Now, and it's not working now, but it is for the Rangers. Like, if you're going to sign a bunch of players, is it a great idea to invest all of those millions of dollars into 40-year-old pitchers? Is it a good idea to extend and give a ton of money to guys who have not proven that they're worth that?
Okay, so let me push back a little bit on that. Would you rather have a struggling Justin Verlander right now or a TJ Jacob deGrom? Right? I think he made the right decision there, going with Verlander instead of deGrom. We said it at the time. I stand by that. I think Verlander was the better investment.
I agree. That's fine. But if that's the only case we can find.
David Robertson has been good in replacement of Edwin Diaz. He gave Diaz the money to be the, highest paid closer in baseball. When Diaz is on the hill, we expect him to be really good. He hasn't been on the hill. That's a freak injury. That's not Billy Epler's fault. I can't point to the Nimmo extension and be like, yep, fire Billy Epler. I can't point to, anything else and say fire Billy Epler.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but there's a lot of between the margins moves that have not aged all that well, right? There's a couple trades in there of them trading some big time prospects in exchange for stars that are currently not on the team. There's, Eduardo Escobars of the world. There's,
they traded a big league setup guy in Colin Holderman for Daniel Vogelbach, who is a waste of space right now.
Yeah, I got trashed for saying that was a bad deal.
Yeah, so it's a tough situation. I'm not ready to stamp like Billy Epler bad GM. I think that Epler has made some good decisions that have unfortunately blown up, and I think that is beyond his power.
I think that's fine, but here's the bottom line. He has the highest payroll in sports history, and his team is 31-35, and it's on the backs of a lot of his moves.
Yeah.
I just don't think we should blame Steve Cohen for putting the money in the hands. Like, I don't even think Steve Cohen should be a part of the conversation. They're objectively performing way below expectations, and the GM has to have some accountability, right? Yeah. They have to have some accountability. Like, you could go through each individual deal and be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But when it's a collection of them and they're underperforming by a ton, who are you going to blame? Like, at some point, Billy Epler, if you have the highest payroll, Brian Cashman has been trashed for years with the highest payroll. What is Billy Epler inept to this criticism? He absolutely deserves it. Buck deserves it. I think a lot of his bullpen decisions have been weird. I think a lot of his pinch hitting decisions have been weird. A couple games ago, why'd you pinch hit Louis Guillorme for Mark Vientos? Yep. Why'd you do that? There's just been a lot of bad decisions on Buck's part. And then you have to blame the players. I think Steve Cohen is the one that you don't blame. He all he can do is provide the money for the baseball people to make the decisions. Steve Cohen didn't sign Scherzer. He didn't sign Verlander. He said, here's a ton of money. Do with it the best that you can.
Yeah.
And look what he's done with the money. It's been horrible.
Yeah. I can't argue with that. I can because where's the big money, right? Verlander, it's Justin Verlander. 485, it's Justin Verlander. Scherzer.
Okay, but then you got him for another, like, is that contract doing well?
No, but it's doing better than the other option. And take yourself back to the offseason. If they didn't sign DeGrom or Verlander, they were going to come for Epler's head. Were they not?
Maybe, but maybe you don't worry about that. Maybe you make
they were
other
coming
moves
for his head.
Okay, but they may have come for his head in the moment, but as a general manager, like, you have to have confidence in your own decisions and be able to make moves like getting John Gray, like getting Andrew Heaney, like those type of moves. He signed Jose Quintana. What's Jose Quintana's ERA? It's zip because he hasn't pitched yet this year. Like, yeah, a lot of unfortunate things have happened. So, yeah, in the moment, you could say, like, if the Yankees didn't re-sign DJ LeMahieu in that moment, Yankee fans would have come for their head. Now Yankee fans want DJ LeMahieu out of the lineup. Like, fans are reactive in the moment. You can't react to what the fans are going to yell at you in that exact moment. You have to do what's right for the team overall. So you can't just say, well, they'll come for my head, so I have to sign a 40-year-old Justin Verlander to $40 million per. That's bad business.
Yeah, I just think we're souring on this Verlander deal too quickly.
But it's not just the Verlander deal.
Okay, so Scherzer, where are your other issues?
Well, I'd have to go through each, like, if you could read me some of the contracts.
So David Robertson, he signed him to what, a 1-year, $10 million deal?
Sure, good deal.
Robertson is a
who's
sub
off to a good start.
Yeah, he's been a great closer. He's got a sub 2. Kodai Senga, 5 years, 75.
Been a good addition so far. He's been much better lately.
Yeah. Verlander, okay, it hasn't started well. Quintana, unavailable. It was a rib thing. It's really hard for me to pin injuries on him, especially when Quintana was full-blown durable last year.
But the thing is, like, you should have plenty of depth if you have the highest payroll in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. McNeil, that extension. He's not off to a great start. He's hitting 275. Like, he hasn't been a total liability.
Sure, he hasn't been
good.
A total liability.
He hasn't lived up to the standard, but he hasn't been a waste of space. He's an everyday second baseman.
Sure.
Nimmo, re-signing.
How much money did he give McNeil, though?
50 over 5.
Okay.
Nimmo signed that, what, $100+ million deal. Brandon Nimmo, 64 games, hitting 280 with a 780 OPS. He's got an on base at a 375 clip.
Pretty good.
The Vogelbach Holderman one was objectively bad. Objectively bad. The rough one was objectively bad.
Yep.
Tommy Pham was a cheap free agent signing. He's got an 820 OPS. He's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's my thing, man. Like, those are all the deals that we were talking about with Billy Epler. And we're not looking at any of them like, oh my God, that was fucking egregious.
Which one has been great?
None of them.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have one great one? Like, yeah, they haven't been horrible. He's not the worst GM of all time, but he hasn't been good.
But you can't fire him. You can't come for his head right now.
No, you can't come for any GM's head after you win 101 games the year before and it's 31 and 35. I'm not calling for his firing. What I am saying is that I understand where Mets fans are coming from, looking at the payroll, looking that you pay more in taxes than the team you're looking up against in the standings. And I don't think it's all an Epler either. I mentioned Buck Showalter as a issue.
Yeah.
Lindor has been terrible. He's your huge signing too. He has not been good. Like, it's not all on Billy Epler, but objectively, Billy Epler has not been good.
Here's my thing, and the last guy that I want to pin it on as a player, but you kind of have to pin it on Tyler McGill, Carlos Carrasco, and David Peterson at this point. Like, they've been horrible starters.
Carrasco's been better lately, but agreed. I mean, he's getting
5, 7, and 8 starts.
I mean, his last 3 have been. Yeah, I agree. He hasn't been good. So, like,
McGill
has been horrible.
That's the thing.
Remember, he was getting starts. I mean, he's now in AAA. I mean, it's bad.
You've got losses here. You've got scheduled losses here, and the Mets shouldn't have scheduled losses. I'm with you, but that's the way the cookie crumbled this year. Unfortunately,
that's where I'm at. I think there's a lot to blame. I understand Mets fans wanting the head of Billy Epler and Buck Showalter. Should either of them be fired? No, they can't be fired right now. It's still early. It's before the All-Star break. Like, we gotta see this thing through. These are the guys. This is the plan. You can't just give up on the plan when you're 31 and 35.
Yeah.
Now, if they go on crazy more losing streaks and by the All-Star break they're 10 games under 500, we can have a discussion then. But right now they shouldn't. But like I said, I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. All right. That's it for me. We're almost set with a field in Omaha. So you and Aram are going to chat with Pete Flaherty about the College World Series, right?
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about Quinn Matthews' unbelievable game. The last thing I want to wrap on, Brandon Crawford came in and pitched against the Chicago Cubs, and he threw 1 inning, and he actually looked pretty good. I just thought it was so funny that in his post-game presser, he's been joking around with his pitching staff saying pitching ain't all that hard, and that they're probably mad at him now that he has a 0.00 ERA. And he said that he proved that pitching isn't that hard. I think Brandon Crawford's post-game presser was one of the funniest of the season so far. So definitely go check that out. Go check out his outing, because his fastball, according to Fangraphs, was not that different from a certain starting pitcher on the Royals.
Yeah. So I saw a quick screenshot. Like, it was comparing fastball velo and shape to that of Zach Greinke's, and it's not totally far off, which is such a weird thing. Because
you know what I saw?
What?
Greinke has thrown changeups that are faster than some of his fastballs.
Yeah,
such a weirdo.
I think he's sitting 89 with his fastball, and he's throwing some changeups at 90 or 91, and there are some baseball fans who are like, well, that's not a changeup if it's faster. If it's gripped like a changeup,
yeah, it's a changeup,
and it spins like a changeup, and its profile is a changeup, then what is it? Is it a fucking fastball? I don't think so.
Just don't question it anymore. I mean, it's great.
Don't question it.
He's off the reservation. It's not someone that you could go in and actually analyze.
That's my favorite thing. I've talked about the Marlins, like, high speed changeups, Sandy's high velocity changeup, Edward Cabrera's high velo changeup. There are a couple other guys doing the high velo change, like 95. And my favorite clapback is, that's not a changeup. Yes, it is. They hold it like this, and they pronate. It's a changeup.
I guess I understand where people are coming from, because the idea of a changeup is it's changing up the speed. So it should have a larger speed differential than the fastball. So I get it. But when they hold it like that, they throw it. I mean, what are we supposed to do?
It's the pitch. If it talks like a changeup and it fucking walks like a changeup, then it's a changeup.
It's a changeup. But that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Thank you all again for listening. And the best way to support is to go get your Just Baseball merch. I'm rocking my Just Baseball athletic tee. Go get yours in the episode description. Of course, we are sponsored by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Sign up and deposit into your newly created account. Download the BetMGM Sports app on iOS or Android, or visit betmgm.com. Place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses using promo code JustBaseball. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once the wager is settled. Make sure you use promo code JustBaseball on BetMGM. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Again, if you're not a gambler and you don't want to spend any money, but you do want to support, we do greatly appreciate it. You can do it by subscribing on YouTube or rating and reviewing this podcast 5 stars, whether that be on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. That's Jack. I'm Peter. And with that, thank you, everybody.